Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. We are busy now with the tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter from Volume 1 of Mariful Quran, page number 77. Right, in the previous episode, we looked at what is the meaning of guidance because we are busy with the verse saying, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. Guide us to the straight path. So in the previous episode, we looked at the meaning of guidance, right? And now we are looking at what is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which path is the straight path, and what does this mean, right? So, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Now to come to the meaning of the straight path, the Sirat al-Mustaqim. It is the path which has no twists and turns in it. The term signifies the particular way of faith of Iman which equally avoids the two extremes of excess on the one hand and deficiency on the other. The person who follows the straight path would, in matters of doctrine and practice both, neither go beyond the limits nor fall short of those limits, right? You use, because we are the ummatan wasatan, we avoid the extremes. The last two verses of Surah Al-Fatiha define and identify that straight path, the Siratul Mustaqim, something which mankind has been prompted to pray for immediately earlier. The verse says, Siratul Ladina An'amta Alayhim, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your grace. As to who these people are, another verse of the Holy Quran gives us the answer, and we know that if the Quran is the best tafsir of itself, so if the Quran gives the answer, we don't need any other explanation. We don't have to go to the hadith or any other source, right? So the Quran tells us that those on the straight path are four categories. Chapter 4 of the Quran, verse number 69. Those whom Allah has blessed, namely the prophets, the Siddiqeen, the Shuhada, and the righteous. The Nabi, the Siddiqeen, was Shuhada, was Salihin, the Anbiya, or the Nabi, the Siddiqeen, the martyrs, and the righteous people, right? This was just a footnote from the previous page. Let's continue. These are the four categories of those who find favor with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Among them all, the prophets, the Nabi, are the greatest. That's number one on the list. Number two on the list are the Siddiqeen, the constantly true. And we know that the name of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu is given the title of As-Siddiqeen. And these are the ones who acquire spiritual perfection and thus attain the highest rank among the followers of the Prophet. So after the Prophet, the highest in rank are the Siddiqeen. In common parlance, they are called the awliya, the men of Allah or the saints. Now let's look at the explanation of point number 8 at the bottom, and then we will come to the shuhada. Let's understand what it means. Number 8. If taken in an untainted religious sense, and certainly not if taken in one of the many modern vulgarized usage of the term, where instant you see the halo of spiritual glory over the head of a person, right? So it's referring to the understanding of who is the awliya, the people of Allah, right? I don't know why I've missed my point. We're talking about, where's point number 8? Can you find it for me? Okay, Alhamdulillah, we found it, right? So the people of Allah, the awliya or the saints. The shuhada, the martyrs, are those who sacrifice even their lives for the sake of their faith, or who bear witness to the truth, as the word admits of both meanings. And the last category are the righteous, known as the salihin, are those who follow the sharia completely, not only in the matter of obligations, the wajibat, but also with regard to commendable, the mustahab actions. In everyday language, they are called the pious people or the virtuous people or the good people, right? So this verse then determines the straight path in a positive manner. identifying it with the path followed by the people of these four categories. But the next verse, by a process of elimination, does the same thing in a negative manner by saying, we don't want, the straight path is not of those who have incurred your wrath, nor of those who have gone astray. All right? So those who have incurred the wrath of Allah, the wrath of God, are the people who, in spite of being quite familiar with the commandments of Allah, willfully and deliberately go against them out of a calculated perversity, or in the service of their desires, or in other words, who are deficient in obeying divine conjunctions. For example, was the general condition. This was the general condition of the Jews who were ready to sacrifice their religion for the sake of a petty worldly gain, and used to insult and sometimes even to kill their prophets. As for those who go astray, they are the people who, out of ignorance or lack of thought, go beyond the limits appointed by Allah, and thereby indulge in excess and exaggeration in religious matters. For example, this has generally been the error of the Christians who exceeded the limits in their reverence for a prophet and turned him into a god, or a son of God, or as a Lord, right? On the one hand, there is the rebelliousness of the Jews who not only refused to listen to the prophets of Allah, but went on to kill them. On the other hand, there is the excessive zeal of some of the Christians who deified a prophet and made him into a god, right? So you cannot make a human being into a god. Thus, the essential meaning of the verse is that in praying for the straight path, the Siratul Mustaqim, we do not ask for the path of those who are the slaves of their desires, those who are perverse in thought and action, and those who are deficient in performing their religious obligations, nor the path of those who are ignorant, or the path of those who are unmindful, or those who are misled, and those who indulge in excess and exaggeration in religious measures. But we wish for a path between these two extremes, because we are ummatan wasatan. We are the middle generation. We are the middle ummah, which inclines neither towards excess nor towards deficiency. There is no extremism in Islam, and which is as free of the promptings of desires as of doubts and confusion and wrong and erroneous beliefs. In summary, the prayer for the straight path, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, is the essence of Surah Al-Fatiha. Since knowing, and basically it's the essence of our entire life, since knowing and following the straight path of the Sirat al-Mustaqim is the real knowledge and the true knowledge and the real achievement in this mortal world, a mistake in picking it up right takes people and nations to ruins. Otherwise, there are even non-Muslims who claim to be seeking God and undertake stupendous labors to attain this end. The Holy Quran has therefore defined the straight path so explicitly and clearly from a positive as well as an eliminative point of view. Right, so remember, in summary, the straight path is the path that will take you towards the good pleasure of your Creator. We came from paradise, Shaitan took us out from there. We are now going through tests and trials on the planet Earth, and we're going to go back to the Creator Supreme. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah, and to Him is our return. Now, for those who are curious about Islam, or those who are new to Islam, remember that La ilaha illallah is your ticket or your passport to put your foot on the straight path. But then to remain on the straight path, you need the Quran and Sunnah. So the Quran and Sunnah are the GPS coordinates that will take you on the straight path. It is the GPS guide, it is the map whereby you can find your way back to paradise into the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you want to find your way back to your Creator, if you want to know the meaning and purpose of life, if you want to know whether the life you are leading is the correct life, it is the straight path that will take you back to your Creator, please get a copy of the Quran today. Please do not delay. Join me in the next episode where we are now looking at the key to the straight path. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah.